Hey, y'all are wildin'. Okay, I've seen some absolutely wild takes on this whole discussion about the new Apple Beats Studio Pro and like Sony W. Look, both headphones are absolutely fantastic. They're both great headphones, don't get me wrong. You won't go wrong with either of them, but come on, we need to dial this back a little bit. Let's give credit where credit is due, and I want to actually talk about my experience using both of these headphones for quite some time now. I have some thoughts. So we're going to be looking at which headphones are better for what should you be wearing for working out, which one should you take with you on an airplane, and finally, which headphone should you get and which headphone I'm getting. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. First thing I want to talk about is the case. Both of these cases are really nice. They each have their own specialty. For example, the Beats case, I absolutely love how small these pack up into this little case, and for that, this case is absolutely perfect. You have very minimal branding right at the front here, and it's not going to take up much space, which is probably one of the biggest things I think these Beats headphones have going for it. Also, the Beats case has these nice, neat little pockets inside in order to hold the charging cable as well as the 3.5mm headphone jack, and you have a hidden zippered compartment as well. So it just gives us more options to store things in here, so I like it. Good job. Where the Sony actually hits back with its case is the fact that it's actually thinner. Now look, not all cases are made the same. So even though in theory the Beats case is actually smaller than the Sony one, it's actually half the thickness of the Beats one, and that makes a difference because my backpack is more thin versus other people might have thicker backpacks. So in my personal backpack, the Sony one actually fits better compared to this one because this just bulges my backpack up versus this one kind of just slips right in. So for me, these actually surprisingly work pretty well. But the other thing that the Sony can kind of fight back with is the fact that this is hard, right? Versus this is just like cloth, right? It just bends. If you want maximum protection for your headphones, then this is the way to go, because I'll be honest, sometimes when I squeeze this into my thinner backpack and I gotta kind of like put it in there, I'm kind of worried that, you know, like this is gonna get like banged up or something like that. So however, I'm gonna give the point to the Beats for this one, just because overall I absolutely love that they fold down to this little small case, and I like the additional attention to detail that they've given with the multiple compartments. I mean, the Sony does have a compartment as well. It's like this magnetic little compartment where you can throw the charging cable and everything, but it's not like separated like the way the Beats has. And next, talking about the actual headphones, the quality on these is, in my opinion, a little subpar. They could have definitely done a better job. I feel like these Beats haven't changed since like the first inception. They still feel very plasticky to the point where it actually creaks. I don't know if you can hear that. So that part kind of bothers me. When you have the headphones on your head and you're pressing these buttons, it feels cheap. It doesn't feel as premium or refined in my opinion. So that's one knock against the Beats, whereas the Sony, on the other hand, these feel very premium, right? You are paying a little bit more, like I think it's like 50 bucks more, but we'll get into that when we talk about price for the Sony headphones, but you can feel the difference. Everything has a soft touch finish all around it, and there's no creaking. In terms of materials used, I'm gonna give the point to the Sony. Next, let's talk about a very important factor for me personally, but it wasn't when I was a little bit younger, and that is the fit and comfort. Overall, when it comes to fit and comfort, for me, a big factor is how light the actual headphone is. I will tell you, in actual real world usage, this feels quite a bit lighter compared to the Beats, and I think partially that has to do with the fact that a lot of the weight for the Sony headphones seems to be in the actual like ear cups, versus with the Beats you have quite a bit of plastic up on the top area as well, so it does kind of weigh down on your head. So even when you wear it, you do feel the weight all across your head, versus with the Sonys, it just feels much lighter because when you put it on, like it feels like the weight is evenly distributed and you don't really feel much on top of your head. So another thing that I noticed immediately is the head clamp force. On the Sony, I think it's just perfect, especially for long usage, or you know, for people that are just using it at a desk or while traveling, commuting, just regular everyday usage. The amount of clamp force on this is just perfect. The headphones aren't going anywhere, versus with the Beats, the clamp force is quite a bit stronger than what I've been used to. Like the moment you put this on your head, like you can feel the pressure against your ears, and I personally not a huge fan of that force, but where it does kind of help to have that kind of force is if you're wearing these to the gym. When I took both of these to the gym, the Sony's, you know, even when I tighten it down, it kind of feels like it's gonna fall off. I have to always tilt it so that if I'm lying down on a bench, I'm kind of wearing my headphones like this. If I'm kind of, you know, bending forward, it's kind of got to be against the back crown of my head just to make sure that, you know, it's not going anywhere. Whereas with the Beats, the clamp force is strong enough where I know I can kind of just move around, I can box, I can do whatever I need to, and I know it's not going anywhere. So in fact, I would say if you are considering wearing this primarily for the gym, like that's the main reason you're buying these, I think the Beats is the move here because it's just going to give you a better experience knowing that it's nice and tight on your head. Actual ear cups as well, my goodness, these things are like literally like they sit so well. It's like a cloud on your ears again, versus these, like the Beats, they have actually improved this quite a bit. These ear cups were nowhere as close to being as nice as these, so they have improved the ear cups significantly on these models in my opinion, but still nothing compared to the comfort you're gonna get with the Sonys. Overall, even though these are fantastic for gym, I think that's just a specific use case, and in terms of overall comfort, I'm gonna have to give the point to the Sonys. These just feel incredible on your head. It's literally like wearing a cloud on your head. Next up, let's talk about sound quality. Now, obviously this is a very subjective matter, but both of them actually sound fantastic. The average person out there buying Beats or any other headphones is not gonna care if one headphone is slightly more bassy than the other or whatnot. But even though this is subjective, I'm gonna have to give the win here again to Sony. Only reason being is Sony actually offers EQ settings in their app. You can download the app for both of these headphones, but only one of them gives you EQ options, which is the Sony. Now, next up, another big deal for a lot of people is ANC and transparency mode. I went into this situation thinking that, you know, the Sonys are gonna be substantially better than the Beats because that's what I traditionally hear on the internet. A lot of people talk about the Sonys being the best ANC mode, but I gotta be honest with you, I didn't feel a huge difference or anything like that. Like there was very minimal difference, not even enough for me to be like, okay, I prefer the Sonys more than the Beats. I think the Beats this year have actually killed it. I have the last gen Beats and the ANC is nowhere as good as what's in these ones. So I think Apple has really refined them this year. So the ANC is fantastic. Next up, I want to talk about software. And this is one area that, man, the Beats just frustrate me. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know what Apple was doing with these headphones when they launched them, because these are the Beats Studio Pro. And they should have the latest Apple tech, or at least like a year or two old Apple tech. Some Apple tech would have been nice, which means you don't get all the benefits of being in the Apple ecosystem when you buy this, which might have been one of the main reasons a lot of people wanted to pick these up in the first place. Now, because there's no H series chip in this pair of headphones, you don't get continuity, which is one of the main features with Apple headphones, right? With being in the Apple ecosystem. So it's like you're using your phone, you go to your iPad, you go to your computer, you switch back, whichever device you're using, the headphone should automatically switch, and that's a huge selling feature for Apple audio devices. But the Beats don't have it. And the fact that boggles my mind even more is the fact that they didn't include multi-point Bluetooth support on these, which means I can't connect this to two different Bluetooth devices at the same time, which is a feature that pretty much all headphones in this price range have. And another feature that they're missing is autoplay and pause. So when I take them off my head, I mean, ideally, I would like these to pause on their own, whereas the Sony, on the other hand, does have the autoplay pause. It's just the lack of software support on this guy is kind of alarming to me, considering this is a Pro series device in the Apple world. Now, I want to mention two quirks here, right, between both of these devices, because they both do something the other can't, which is, firstly, on the Beats, if the battery on this dies, or let's say I need to plug this into my airplane while I'm traveling, I have to turn on the actual headphones and then plug it in as well. Whereas the Sonys, on the other hand, you can plug these in just with a 3.5mm headphone jack and you can still use them as regular old headphones. You don't have to turn it on. But where the Beats does have a quirk that Sony doesn't have is you can use these while charging. So if you do run out of juice, let's say you have a portable charger, you can plug it in and you can still throw it on your head and use it while it's charging. Whereas with the Sony, you can't charge and use at the same time. So because of the multi-point Bluetooth support, as well as the auto pause and play, I'm gonna give the point here to the Sony. Now, next I want to talk about buttons. Now, this is again a matter of preference, whether you like pressing the actual buttons or if you like using the touch interface on the Sony. It's a toss-up here, it's just a matter of subjective preference. I'm gonna give it a tie here because, I mean, it could go either way. Next, let's talk about the design and the X factor. And I think this is where the Beats really come out swinging. The way I see it, the Beats look undeniably cooler. And I gotta give the credit here to Beats is that they have that it factor, okay? These just look really cool. And I love how they look on my head. I love how they look when I'm using it for, like, you know, filming B-roll or top-down shots or anything like that in the background of my photos or videos. These just look really cool. Whereas the Sony, on the other hand, they look like any generic other pair of headphones, right? Like, you could buy headphones off of Amazon and I could, like, shuffle this and those headphones, hide the Sony branding, which is very minimal, that I do like, and you won't be able to tell the difference. That does exist. And also I'll say, Beats did a great job again this year with color options. I personally think this deep brown color that I got for the Beats this year is probably my favorite color for headphones that I've had to date. Absolutely love this, absolutely adore this. These look fantastic. Whereas with the Sonys, you get the classic white and black. In terms of design, I'll also say the whole foldable design, absolutely brilliant. I've told Sony this as well, that I wish their headphones could fold down. Just being able to have something that folds down to something smaller so I can carry it, have more options to do so. Fantastic, love it. But all in all, because of that foldability and that X factor and the coolness of the Beats headphone, I'm gonna give the point here to the Beats. Let's talk about price. Now the Beats come in at about $350, whereas the Sonys come in at about $399, so about 50 bucks more. I've seen both headphones on sale already, which was actually surprising to me because I saw these for like 100 bucks off, and at that price point, like, if this isn't discounted and you're getting these for like $299, I think these are a no-brainer. However, if you see both of them on sale and it's not a huge difference, then that might make your decision a little bit more difficult because these do feel quite a bit more premium. The sound quality is a little bit better, and I think you get what you pay for with the Sonys. Next, I want to quickly touch on the battery life. Now with the Beats, you get about 40 hours of battery life with ANC and transparency turned off. However, you get only about 24 hours when you turn them on, versus with the Sony, you're getting about 30 hours with ANC on. However, you get much more than that with the ANC and transparency turned off. A lot of these long haul flights are more than 24 hours. So if you're using these headphones, then you probably have to figure out a way to charge these at some point. However, with the Sonys, you're gonna get slightly more battery life. So you might be able to get through most of your journeys and stuff like that. So just another thing to consider. So here in terms of battery life, I gotta give the point here to Sony. Now, if you tally up all of the points, you're gonna see that the XM5s do come out on top compared to the Beats. Of course, you might categorize each of these differently, right? You might value certain aspects of it much more. For example, like the gym example I gave you. So bottom line is, this gives you more comfort and features for a little bit more money, whereas these give you more style and more aesthetics, I guess, and a foldable design under the Apple banner, and that's what it kind of chalks up to. Based on that, you can decide which category you fall into and which one you should buy. In any case, I hope I helped your decision making a little bit easier. I hope you found this video beneficial. If you like this video, then you should definitely check this one out, or this one that YouTube thinks you're gonna like, and I will see you guys there. Take care.